2,000 years of Jews not having a homeland in Palestine, and the forming of the nation of Israel in 48. It makes it a pretty awesome potential echo of a bigger fulfillment, even though he's promising the exiles in Babylon that's going to happen. So let me read. I'm going to read 24 through 28. This is what the Lord says: Your Redeemer who formed you in the womb. I am the Lord, the maker of all things, who stretches out the heavens, who spreads out the earth by myself, who foils the signs of false prophets and makes fools of diviners, who overthrows the learning of the wise, turns it into nonsense. A little bit more of bringing the mountains down and the valleys lifted up.
Yes, it does.
Who carries out the words of his servants and fulfills the predictions of his messengers, who says of Jerusalem, it shall be inhabited. Of the towns of Judah, they shall be rebuilt, and of their ruins I will restore them. Who says to the watery deep, be dry, I will dry up your streams. Who says to Cyrus, who was king of Persia that overcame the Babylonians and who made it possible for the Jews to return home, who says of Cyrus, he is my shepherd and will accomplish all that I please. I will save Jerusalem, let it be rebuilt, and of the temple, let its foundations be laid. I like the way Isaiah, who throughout his book is clearly a lover of trees, and he uses trees as metaphors. And I think of how that land has had trees replanted in it, probably certainly more than in the last 2,000 years. I'm going to quote briefly from Isaiah 41, verse 17. The poor and needy search for water, there's none. Their tongues are parched with thirst. But I, the Lord, will answer them. I, the God of Israel, will not forsake them. I'll make rivers flow on barren heights, springs within the valleys. We have the highs and the lows again. I will turn the desert into pools of water and the parched ground into springs. And I love this because he's just going to talk about different types of trees getting planted. I'll put in the desert, the cedar, the acacia, the myrtle, and the olive. I will set junipers in the wasteland, fir and the cypress together, so that people may see and know and may consider and understand that the hand of the Lord has done this, that the Holy One of Israel has created it. And there has been and continues to be a massive tree planting campaign in that land. Did you see any of that when you were down there?
Yes, I went to a kibbutz. I had a friend down by Ashkelon, and they took me out in the fields. It was just so beautiful there, so beautiful. They took the root and a stump of it was a citrus. They grafted all kinds of fruits into that tree. They found that root was able to sustain and make these trees grow up.
Wow.
And they'd go along and they'd use the fruit, and then the tree would start to fade. They'd just cut off all the branches and whack the stump, about a foot high off the ground, and regraft another one in there. And it was abundant fruit that they got out of that. Standing in that field, and just as far as I could see, it was just open country and fields that were plowed, and beautiful skies too. And I just stood there going, wow, God, you are marvelous. That the water that they have taken, they take the water coming out of the Sea of Galilee, and so they kind of back the Jordan off a bit, and they take that water and repurpose it for the desert. And that's when I was standing there, I just thought, boy, this is the land of milk and honey, that you took them into, these giant fruit trees that were there. And it's a land of extremes, and the people there are extreme in every way. And it was just to see how God, for what he loves that area, and he loves the people that he decided to grab a hold of, and he cuts us in there and grafts us in, which is also what hit me when I was standing there in front of that stump in this field, and there's these, all these grafts. It's just
Yeah,
beautiful.
it's fascinating to look at prophetic words given to specific people in that specific time, and then their explosive, wider implications. We talked about it last week with the child prophecy, and ultimately being Jesus, and it happens in a lot of ways. I mean, we talk about the land. You were talking, I think, yesterday at the study group about prophecies about Jerusalem, but ultimately the ultimate fulfillment is the New Jerusalem. Talking about being gathered in and re-inhabited, coming down from the sky in the book of Revelation, and we see this with the land too. We see promises about the land, but as these land prophecies expand, it seems to, you get into the New Testament, it's encompassing the entire world belongs to the Lord. His glory covers the entire earth, and the land of Israel seems to become the entire planet that God is moving in.
When you talk about an area of land, it's two-dimensional. They're this way and that way. Well, left and right. But when he talks about the New Jerusalem, it's three-dimensional. It's a cube, and so instead of a square, it's a cube, and that represents to me that which is like almost like the fifth dimension. We live in a four-dimensional space-time continuum, but when he's talking about that, then all of a sudden you have more dimensions, or another dimension, which I think is somehow the spiritual realm that is, and that there's something else going on here that we will live in as those that have been raised by him, or in a moment, in a twinkling of an eye, were made like him. And so we get changed with, and now we are operating in the arena that the angels operate in. And I love that.